All right, thanks for staying with us. Let's head to the papers now. We'll begin with this Nigeria. This Nigeria says DSS disobeys court order, beats up correctional officers, rearrests Emefiele. That's how DSS puts it. Oh, sorry, This Day puts it. DSS disobeys court order, beats up correctional officers, rearrests Emefiele. Okay, that's This Day there. Then the Daily Times is next. It said, despite bail, ex-CBN Governor Emefiele rearrested by DSS. Right, despite the bail, ex-CBN Governor Emefiele rearrested by DSS. Okay, then from there, let's go to Daily Trust. Daily Trust newspaper says, Emefiele rearrested over terrorism as CSO's lawyers slam DSS. The secret police prison officers fight over custody. It is a sad day, clash, unfortunate. Okay, that's what the Daily Trust has. Emefiele rearrested over terrorism as CSO's lawyers slam DSS. Okay, from there, let's go to Vision Updates. Vision Update says an alleged gun possession. Emefiele in court pleads not guilty. Emefiele in court pleads not guilty. Suspended CBN governor granted 20 million naira bail, rearrested as DSS operatives beat up prisons official in scuffle for Emefiele's custody. Okay, that's what Vision Update has. And the Nigerian News Direct is next, and it says Emefiele's woes persist as DSS rearrests suspended CBN governor. Emefiele's woes persist as DSS rearrests suspended CBN governor in clashes with correctional service for custody, and court grants Emefiele bail. Lawyers Huriwa condemn arrests, berate DSS DG. Okay, all that on the front page of Nigerian News Direct. This Nigeria is next, is still talking the same thing. DSS, prison officials flex muscles over a rearrest of Emefiele. DSS prison officials flex muscles over rearrest of Emefiele. Embattled CBN governor granted 20 million naira bail, forcefully taken away by secret police. All right, Nigerians express displeasure over interagency rivalry. Okay, and from there, let's go to First News. First News, Emefiele is the headline here. DSS prison officers in Rofo fight in court as judge grants suspended CBN governor a 20 million naira bail. Okay, that's what you see on the front page of First News. Kemi.
Right, and the Punch is next. This time around, away from the Emefiele saga, Punch is reporting that Nigerians demand reforms as Tinubu submits ministerial list. Of course, time is running out, but the presidency insists that it is working vigorously to meet the deadline to submit the ministerial list to the Senate. The Nation is also talking about this all-important ministerial list, with President Tinubu mulling his son, a senior advocate of Nigeria, as well as ex-governors and technocrats who will help his renewed hope agenda. Of course, and that's also reflected on the front page of Voice of Liberty, as we see next, with the Voice of Liberty reporting that the president has also gone on to bar visitors from Aso Rock as deadline looms to release his ministerial list. That's on Voice of Liberty. Let's check out the Daily Sun now. Daily Sun is saying the Senate is preparing for recess amid non-submission of ministerial list. Of course, this is pending. Many Nigerians are expectant. The government insists it is going to be worth it. And of course, Nigerians hope that it will be worth the wait. Let's see what Guardian is reporting. The Guardian says CBN on new route to inflation control raises interest on banks' deposit. CBN there in the news again, this time on new routes to inflation control and raises interest on bank deposit. And on the Leadership newspaper is all about the Naira, a Naira free float, it says. with manufacturers and labor seeking CBN's intervention. On Nature News now, Nigeria invests $521 billion to transform national food systems and restore river basin development. Of course, we're still talking about the state of emergency on the agricultural sector in a bid to ramp up food availability all over Nigeria. And now this twist on the Nature News. Finally, is Business Day. Grid power drops by 20% as debts hamper gas supply. That's it from me, Mike.
All right. This issue is the Emefiele issue with the DSS and the Correctional Center is the biggest story in Nigeria right now. If you listen to radio stations and TV stations, everyone is talking about it. In fact, yesterday when it happened and your news hit the airwaves, people who watched, it started going viral as to what happened yesterday, why, especially the fight between the two sister agencies, the way you put it. I like the way the First News newspaper, says the DSS prison officers in Rofo fight. Rofo, that's a Yoruba word.
Yes,
I think it was popularized by a fella
right.
in one of his songs. I think Rofo fight.
Yes.
I think that was in 1972, where he was talking about people being intolerant against each other. What could have been settled amicably. Because that word, it was my first time in fella's music. I heard it. I didn't even know it meant anything. I thought it was just a slang on the street. But it's good to know that it's a word that is even being quoted sometimes on the international scene. But the point there is, this issue, what have you heard people say, especially those you have engaged when it comes to the Rofo part of things, where DSS and the correctional centers their DGs could make a call to each other, or the officers or senior officers could have made each other understand, okay, let's have it this way or let's have it the other way or something. What are you hearing people say?
Well, everybody seems to have one view or the other. Of course, understandably so. It's the biggest story, in Nigeria right now. And of course, many are shocked, but then others aren't surprised because from their perspective, this is the DSS we're talking about. And, the fact that they answer to the presidency, so to speak, or the making of that office, gives them this cloak of. But then what's played out yesterday is also interesting, even though one could say that, the DSS can get away with anything, under the toga of,
national
it's
security.
It's secret mandate, it's secret operations, and under the toga again of, national security, so there is this cloak. And even in the courts now, that has always, been a very controversial point. The matters of national security versus the rule of law. That is an argument that we may never, ever, have rested, because on the part of the government of the day, national security is paramount, and every other thing, takes obeisance, so to speak, to that principle. But lawyers would have, in the
eyes of the law,
lawyers would have none of that. They would say, observers would say, this is the law. The rule of law is paramount, and it could be Emefiele today. Who knows who it would be? Tomorrow. And again, another argument was made that this was the same man that was mandated by an apex court. Only months ago, we all lived through the ordeals at the time, just before the general election, where the apex court was, sat not once, not twice on the issue of the controversial Naira swap and,
Naira
redesign policy. And, he was mandated, so to speak, the federal government was mandated to, stop the circulation of the new notes and allow the old notes to continue circulating. But we saw how that order was, more or less disobeyed until the then president, had to, make a very interesting announcement, and then we all came back to, status quo. So it's really interesting to play out. And other sentiments that also played out in court yesterday was, come to think of it, it's funny, but then it also got me thinking, okay, so who does the DSS answer to? To the presidency? Who does the correction facility answer to? It's the Minister of Interior, who is in office at the moment. It's the minister. The minister has not yet been appointed. So, but then I take your hint that calls could have been made. The officer that was, disgraced yesterday, people are asking, could that have been avoided? He's a senior ranking officer. On a good day, you wouldn't see him in court. But, considering the nature of this case, the personality involved, Mr. Emefiele involved, and I guess he must have, gotten wind of the fact that the DSS was increasing in number despite the court order, the clear orders that we all heard, that let the corrections come and take over at this point now of this particular inmate. So I guess based on the reports he must have been hearing on the ground, he came to also give effect. As soon as we even saw him along with his lieutenant, we knew that, this was going to be a very interesting play out, but we never knew it would lead to this. Of course, the DSS heavily armed, the corrections also heavily armed. The paraphernalia we even saw of the corrections we had never seen before. I had never seen before because I'm talking about state-of-the-art equipment, not the regular Black Maria. So it was really messy. And interestingly, I don't know what happened. No one was willing to give comments. The officer that his shirt was torn, the senior officer that his shirt was torn, was not willing to comment on, what his reactions are. Of course, these are people who abide by civil service codes of conduct. So talking to the press might also be an issue. And of course, the DSS also kind of roughened us journalists up. I was also, almost, pushed to one side when I was trying to enter into the courtroom yesterday by the DSS operatives, also giving credence to the manner of, their operations. A fellow journalist too, while attempting to take shots of the DSS, when we saw that we were inside, didn't know what was happening outside. So when she was leaving, a journalist with a top national media house, and when she was leaving, she saw that everywhere had been barricaded, not allowing anyone to come in, especially the correction staff. And so she attempted to take shots, and then she was also, accosted by the DSS. Nobody could dare to take, that shot. This is what we could see of the corrections boss being manhandled, but no one could see how they surrounded this lady. They took her phone and ensured, according to, we were not there, but we were reliably informed that while you guys were in there working, this was happening to your colleague. And then they took her phone, which is also an affront on our job. They took her phone, searched the contents, and we heard that everything was deleted. We don't know the extent to which it was deleted, whether it was just that clip she was recording or whether it was something else. But, this also goes to show and also gives credence to uproar by, by people who have been observing the play out. It's we call the show of shame. And we really hope that, like the president intervened in the fracas between the EFCC and the DSS, perhaps, something, very cogent would be called. But the DSS, we had a guest last night who was saying, a former director of the DSS, who was saying that it is very much in order for a suspect, a defendant, to be rearrested. It happened in Emefiele. The moment he was granted bail and he left the court premises, within the court premises, the EFCC came to arrest him. But the nature of this arrest...
Yeah, the point there is, the information at the disposal of DSS that makes them do all of that, we may not know, but what we are saying is that there has to be some more seamless way of conducting these things, because the point there is, you are an agency of government, the prison service is the agency of government, or even the EFCC at the time it happened, at the time, were all agencies of institutions of government. And when a clash like this happens, it looks like they're working at cross purposes. What information do you have that is different from, or how are you working for the government that is different from the way that the other agency is working for government? But let's see how this goes as we get along.